Bueno, pues aquí hemos hablado con Marie-Anne Allier, la co-manager de Carmignac Sécurité, y nos decía, entre otras cosas, que es bastante probable que este año 2023 ya podamos ver el final del ciclo de subidas de tipos, que ya sea en este ejercicio, y también nos ha recordado que 2022 ha sido un año complicado para el mercado por la guerra de Rusia en Ucrania, que entonces también la volatilidad de los mercados financieros había repuntado, pero que esto ha cambiado también en 2023. Dice, el sentimiento ha sido más positivo y probablemente acabemos viendo el fin del ciclo de las subidas de tipos en la segunda mitad de este ejercicio. También dice que ahora es momento también de ver esa oportunidad de mirar a la gestión activa en el mercado, aunque dice no va a haber oportunidades en todos los sectores, pero es buen momento para fijarse en duración y en crédito en determinados espacios del mercado. Pero antes de nada, vamos a hablar de mercados financieros, de renta fija, también de qué riesgos y oportunidades vemos ahora en el escenario actual. Nos acompaña Marie-Anne Allier, que es co-manager de Carmignac Sécurité. Marie-Anne, thank you so much for being in Negocios Televisión. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Marie-Anne, 2022 was a very tough year for fixed income. How has that changed this year in 2023?
Well, 2022 was indeed a very difficult year for a fixed income market. Beyond the Russian and the Ukrainian crisis, you have this beginning of a hiking cycle all over the world. And you have a lot of volatility in the market. When you look at both rates and spread, you have a huge increase during 2022. Just to give you some figures, the Euro fixed income market ended with a negative performance of more than 17%, and the very short indexes like the one we use for Carmignac Sécurité was negative by more than 4.8%. What changed in the 2023 that because of this increase in yield and spread, we now have the fixed income market now offers a substantial positive yields. To give you an idea, in mid-19, 30%, so 30% of the global debt in the world was negative yielding. It was 20% beginning of 2022. It's now 3%, and it's almost all Japanese very short-term debt. So positive carry in 2023, which is a big difference. The other big difference is that we are probably at the end of the hiking cycle of central banks, so we will have less volatility. We are not over in terms of a hiking cycle, but a lot is already discounted in the market, so probably less volatility and much more carry in 2023 than what we had in 2022.
Marie-Anne, what is your view of the current macro context and the implications for the fixed income market?
Obviously, there is a slowdown both in inflation and growth. When you look at growth, there is a slowdown more in manufacturing than in services, but we are looking at that both in US and in Europe, decreasing growth. Inflation is the same. We had very high level of inflation in 2022. It's becoming to decrease. Headline and core, maybe not at the same pace in US and in Europe, but we have a decrease in inflation. So now for the fixed income market, the real question is not about this slowdown, because it's obvious. It's more, is it happening fast enough and strong enough for central banks to be relaxed and to avoid another sell-off in the fixed income market. We have still a very tight labor market. We have still a lot of available cash buffer that have been built during the pandemic and 2020, 2021, and that raised fears that maybe inflation and growth will be much more resilient than what expert was expected, and that the easy part of disinflation is done and the hardest is still to be done. Once again, the good news of that for fixed income is that, as we said just before, we have carry that could offset part of a rate hike if they were to occur. And our working hypothesis for that is that we will have the recession probably around the year end, end of 2023, beginning of 2024, and that is positive for fixed income market. So positive return in 2023.
In this environment, where are you seeing the most opportunities and risks as well?
Well, if we begin with risk, and let's avoid totally the geopolitical risk, where it's a bit difficult to have a clear idea. Duration remains a bit of a risk. As we said, is ever the economy and therefore inflation remains more resilient than what central banks are expected, despite rate hikes, then they will continue to hike rates, and maybe more than what is already discounted in the market. In that case, short-term rates are at risk. Maybe not the longer part of the curve, because if you raise rate very high, then you will put the economy in recession, and therefore after that central bank will have to cut rates. But in that case, if we have a recession, then what the main risk lies on the company bankruptcy, rising default rates, and that could become the more risk in the fixed income market. As usual, when you have risk, you have opportunities, and this, for example, if we have a rising default rates in the market, that will offer plenty of opportunities for active management. First, we have already had the widening in 2022, and you have already a lot of opportunities in credit market. Look at the success, for example, of targeted fund, maturity targeted funds. Obviously, you have already some opportunities there. But if you have again more bankruptcy, more default, then you will have some company that will be unfairly punished because of their nationality or their sector or their rating. So capital will be scarcer. You will be some company punished for unfairly reasons, and you will have a lot of opportunity there. In duration as well, you will have opportunities. Not all the areas are reacting to a rate hike at the same pace. Some economies are more resilient. Some economies are more, biting, are more beaten by rate hikes, and so you have a lot of arbitrage between geographical areas, US versus Europe, emerging versus developing markets. So a lot of opportunities in duration, a lot of opportunities in credit, even if risk, as usual, are in this sector. So 2023, good year for fixed income market. Lot of opportunities in managing credit and duration.
Good year for fixed income. Marie-Anne Allier, co-manager of Carmignac Sécurité. Thank you so much for being in Negocios Televisión.
Thank you.